portfolio.
Lucinda Chan, Macquarie Private Wealth, thanks so much.
Thank you, Moira.
Well, despite a fairly lacklustre year so far for new listings, we are, of course, seeing a new company due to list, of course, on the market shortly, on Monday, in fact. The company Altius Mining, they're optimistic about their debut. They raised close to $12 million in what has been an oversubscribed IPO. The company, as I mentioned, due to list on the market on Monday with around $52 million in its capital market cap. To find out more about the company and, of course, its focus and strategy moving forward, we're joined now by Altius CEO Alexander King. And Mr. King, appreciate your time this afternoon. All in all, I mean, you're due to list on Monday. As I mentioned, the IPO market's been somewhat subdued so far this year. Your IPO was heavily oversubscribed. From where did you see most of the interest coming?
We had conditioned a lot of the marketplace in Asia prior to our listing, so a significant amount of subscription came from Asia, although we were strongly supported by a lot of the mums and dads in Australia as well. So across the board, probably, you'd have to say, probably about a 70-30 split in terms of overseas capital and local capital filling the IPO.
Obviously, you raised just shy of $12 million, as I mentioned. Where will the funds be mostly directed?
We have 13 tenements we need to spread the money around, I guess. Predominantly our near-term gold production tenement in far north Queensland, just inland from Cairns. That's obviously a prime focus for the company. On top of that, we have some exciting exploration tenements in New South Wales, and a lot of that work's been continuing throughout the IPO process. So we're looking forward to ramping up the exploration on particularly two other gold tenements and potentially another iron ore possibility and rare earth tenement we have as well.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. I mean, obviously, from the Forsyth gold mine, you are expecting production to come on stream by the end of the year. Is that right?
We'll certainly be in test production. The weather's always a little bit fickle heading towards the end of the year up there. We know we had Cyclone Yasi come through earlier in the year, and so you can never plan to set your plans to set in concrete, but we're certainly hopeful that we'll have the bones of our production regime in place by the end of the year, and how quickly we can get into full production will be determined really largely by the weather.
And it's not just gold, as you mentioned, that you're focusing. The Huntington, I think it is, Huntingfield site has some other minerals or deposits as well that could prove potential.
It's an exciting part of New South Wales. It's just south of Broken Hill and across the border from South Australia, a province that's well known, obviously, to resource investors over many, many years. But what's happening up there is, we believe, a whole new iron province, and there's a lot of excitement there. There's a lot of major players are taking an interest in the area. We've got a fairly sizable tenement there. Still a lot of work to be done to get close to a resource estimate, but at the moment it's quite exciting for us to get the data coming through on a regular basis. We've got some feet on the ground already, taking samples and planning a drilling program, so that's certainly one of our priority targets.
Your chairwoman, Dr. Janie Chan, has plans to establish Australia's first gold exchange or retail gold outlet through Altius Mining. What involvement are you working closely with her on this? I mean, we've seen similar exchanges in Dubai and India with the establishment of the Dubai Gold and Commodities Exchange, the India Multi-Commodities Exchange, both very successful, but both in markets where jewellery is really a key part of the culture there. How do you see Australia responding to such an exchange?
Yes, she's probably better placed to answer that than I am, but her strength is obviously in retail through the Hourglass Group. They've worked in that high net worth and high-end sector, mainly in jewellery and watches, for well, close to 30 years, I guess, and have established a very strong line of success. What form that's likely to take here, I think there'll be certainly some set-up stages and some early work done to establish whether a market exists. But we're very keen to take advantage of the renewed interest, I suppose, over the last 2 or 3 years in gold as a commodity, and to expose that to a greater retail sector.
With the developed world in economic crisis, of course, all hopes for global growth beginning to really fall quite squarely into China's lap. The relationship with the Asian powerhouse, especially for Australian miners, is quite crucial, especially in terms of those iron ore miners. What about Australia's relationship with the rest of other key Asian markets? How important is that for growth?
Asia's certainly, other Asian countries are certainly looking at Australia. Certainly Singapore, I still consider Hong Kong to be almost separate to China, even though it's not, obviously, but Hong Kong has a very strong interest in resources in Australia, Taiwan as well. But Singapore, I think, is a largely untapped market, certainly for investment into the resource sector in Australia. I think certainly if some more work could be done on furthering the merging of the two exchanges, I think that would benefit the resource sector in Australia greatly. But really, I think most of Australian resources will find their way to China one way or another.
And of course, the share price due to list on Monday at 20 cents. Are you expecting it to rise or fall on its debut?
Well, the markets have been going quite haywire, I suppose, over the last few weeks. So it's hard to say where the sentiment will be on Monday. But we're very optimistic of a good future for the company. We think we have a very strong story to tell, and I think we're well positioned to ride the gold boom. And we anticipate a bright future.
Well, wish you every success, Altius CEO Alexander King. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Still ahead, we'll tell